And welcome back to the episode of the Geek Centurions. It's your boy Eli here.
Hey Joe.
And we're going to have a quick discussion today, because I have nothing else to talk about. But there were some recent announcements in this week where we did find out that, one, there is going to be a new Mortal Kombat movie coming out as a sequel to the last one, which if you haven't seen our review for that, go check that out. Joey gives a very vicious discussion review.
Yeah.
And also, Uncharted's coming out soon, and then that got me wondering about video game adaptations, because we've talked about anime, we talked about some other stuff, when it comes to adapting stuff, but we never talked about video game adaptations, and how, for the most part, they've been kind of, I think, how do the Brits say it? Shite?
I mean, yeah. Oftentimes, video game movies have.
Or just any adaptation.
Yeah. Any adaptation of video games into a movie setting have not garnered that much praise. Like it seems like video games have yet to reach how comic book movies have reached, like, sort of like, oh, these can be good and we know how to make them good now. Because for a time, comic book movies weren't that great because various factors, whether it's not understanding the character or the lore or just taking something and just turning it into a generic action movie. And now we sort of have companies sort of now understanding that we need to understand the character, what they're all about, and that's what makes the movie work. When you have people that care about the character.
Yeah.
And it seems like in video games, movies have sadly not reached that
Yet. Because the thing is, there have been in recent times, and I would say in the last 5 years, decent adaptations of video game movies. Well, I mean, we still get some pretty bad ones, but I think The Witcher and Castlevania are some of the best examples of, like, adapting more so on the Castlevania side than The Witcher. Because The Witchers are books.
Yeah, The Witchers were books first, and then they were made into video games.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, when adapting The Witcher, you can take elements from the books as well as elements from the games. And I'm not sure how much The Witcher show on Netflix takes from either or, but I mean, like, Henry Cavill, like, became a fan of The Witcher because of the games.
Mm-hmm.
And I think most people who know about The Witcher know about because of the games.
Yes. And Castlevania, they're adapting, I think it was Castlevania 3.
Yeah, I believe, yeah.
And in that one, there wasn't much of a story, and they got Warren Ellis, who at this moment is still a bit problematic to mention. But, for the most part, when that show came out, it was kind of insane how good it was. The animation for me was a little lacking in some areas, but the story itself was pretty good. It was, like, surprisingly done well.
Yeah.
And if we're talking about films, I don't know. I mean, some people might say the Mortal Kombat movies have always been kind of like okay, to like decent in terms of their adaptations. But recently, the talk about the Sonic movie was another one. It's like, oh, finally a decent video game adaptation, and some might also add Detective Pikachu on that mix. I don't know myself. I haven't seen the movie.
I have not seen the movie either.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of weird that, like, that movie isn't, like... I guess it's kind of weird when you think about, like... You would think a Pokemon movie of that scale would have garnered, like a huge amount of, like, attention from, like, I guess, critics. And maybe might have been, like, the one to, like, break the video game movie being bad curse.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, like, there wasn't a whole lot of fanfare afterwards. Like, I know some people say it was good, but, like, I don't know. It just, like, no one made that much of a big deal about it, unlike the Sonic movie, which I don't know if it was because it came out in 2020 before shit went south or what, but, like...
I think also because that one had, like social media ablaze. Because remember the first design of Sonic?
Yeah, when they because I remember they had leaked the design, and we were like, please don't let this be the design, dear God. And then when the trailer came out, it's like, oh dear God, they're actually doing. Oh Jesus, this looks terrible.
Yeah.
He doesn't even. He looks like a fucking weird hedgehog monster, and like it got like so much fanfare. Like it caused the movie to get.
No, I wouldn't say fanfare. I would say hate.
I mean, yeah, I guess that's what I was trying to say. Like fan uproar, if you will. That like the Paramount and like all the people involved were like, we're gonna delay the movie back until. Because I think it was going to come out late, mid 2019. Then it came out in February of 2020. And it was like, and they redesigned Sonic, and it's a better design. But at the, I think that's what people, liked about it. It's like, they listen to the fans, The fans know what's best, even though sometimes the fans don't know what's best. Because, and it ultimately led to the animation studio, I believe, getting
oh no, they got shut down.
Shut down because they wasted so much money having to redesign Sonic. So monkey's paw scenario there.
Yeah. And how many people went to go see the movie more than once? Not I.
No, I mean I didn't, because I feel like at the end of the day, the Sonic movie, we said it's decent, but at the same time, it's like the plot is very much generic. Yeah, it's a road trip movie with freaking Cyclops from X-Men and Sonic, having to learn to be friends and stuff, and Sonic having to learn the power. Granted, the sequel Sonic 2 does look more interesting.
We got Knuckles in there.
Yeah, we got Knuckles. We get Tails. We're getting a lot more of probably the Sonic lore. Some Emerald shit going on. Like, it's
and I think for Sonic, that one was a movie that worked well because there was at least some love in there. I think some love in there. I mean, they made a joke about Sonic.
Yeah. They obviously poke fun at that stuff. I mean, obviously they make the joke of like Sonic likes chili dogs, because that's a thing. They clear that like the people behind at least the writing kind of know a bit about Sonic and like understanding. Hey, he's just he runs super fast, makes quippy jokes. That's who Sonic is.
Though I will say maybe it's because like Sonic doesn't have a defined like canon.
Yeah, I kind of.
Okay, I mean, this is a bit of a tangent because when you and I grew up, we were exposed to two different kind of Sonic cartoons. It was either the jokey, like, American one, and then it was Sonic X that came on like 4Kids or whatever.
I mean, even back in the day, there was like two different versions of Sonic in the 80s, like the one that was like very cartoonish and stuff, and the other one that actually had a bit of a serious story, right? With Robotnik having already conquered the world, and Sonic's like a freedom fighter and stuff. Sonic has always had like a weird mangling of canon.
If you go to the Archie comics, it's even weirder.
Yeah, and like even in the video games, right? So, like the original Sonic trilogy, that's its own thing, and then we have, of course, the Adventure series, and then that splits off into some various stuff with Heroes, and I don't even know where. Well, actually, I think I do remember where Sonic Shadow the Hedgehog lands in the canon.
Yeah, that's just us like guessing. But I think that's kind of like one thing that made it so successful. Was like, I mean, just a take on Sonic. Really, it's what it is.
Yeah, I think that's probably that is probably the nice thing about Sonic, is that Sonic has lore and canon and stuff, but generally, like, it's very malleable. It can be changed and altered in various ways. Because I have no idea how the hell Sonic 06 factors into the timeline, or friggin' Sonic and the Black Knight.
That werewolf one.
Yeah, Unleashed. Where the hell is Sonic gonna get his werewolf form in Sonic 2? I say probably not. That does not make sense.
All I can say is that I hope that they're probably, and I know they're gonna do this because like the timing of writing and stuff, they'll probably like insert the Ugandan Knuckles meme somehow.
I see. On the one hand, I understand, but on the other hand, I feel like there's gonna be some people that might say that is a offensive joke to Ugandans. especially when we have Idris Elba voicing Knuckles. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, would it just be a random do you know the way? Like, does that count as a reference if it's just a random line he says to if Knuckles just says, do you know the way? Like, does that count as a reference, or does he have to say it in the specific voice?
You know what I think is going to happen? I think it's going to happen is that Sonic's going to run and Knuckles going to be like, why are you running?
Yeah, but does he have to say it in a Ugandan voice, or
he just needs to say the line? That's all I'm saying.
I mean, that's not technically Ugandan Knuckles because that's that's a thing from a Ugandan movie. But the point is, does he have to say it in the voice? I feel like it has to be in the voice if it's a reference. They can get away with it if it's not the voice, but most people are gonna be like, it should have been in the voice. I'm just gonna say it right now, and that's the that's the linchpin in the scenario. Does it count as a ref? I feel like most people would be like, it doesn't count. He should have said it in a Ugandan voice. It doesn't count. That's not a reference. That doesn't count. Sure.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but like going back in the topic, I think the problem with a lot of video game adaptations though is the source material in of itself is just a very strange thing that can only work in video games because like the video games offer the idea of choice most of the time.
Interactivity.
Yes.
Interactivity and choice, yes.
Mm-hmm. There's like when you play the game, you're playing the character, you're doing what you think the character would do in some cases in the game. Mm-hmm. And every playthrough that you have with a game is different than how you would go in the last one. Mm-hmm. If you decide to do A and B, maybe this one you decide to do B and A or such and such. I think that's one of the things that makes it really hard for someone to adapt a video game because you're taking away that immersive experience because you're the one playing it. Like, they will never, and I don't know if this will be dated, they will never do a game, they will never adapt Legend of Zelda. Because Link, for the most part, isn't a character.
The old Legend of Zelda cartoon disagrees.
Yeah, and look how that turned out.
Well, excuse me, princess. I mean, listen. Would I hate... Is that like a very bad adaptation of Link? Yeah, probably. Would I find... Is it still funny to me that that if there was a hypothetical Legend of Zelda like cartoon or movie or whatever, that they just randomly throw the line in and I would laugh at it? Yes, absolutely. I would love that.
I mean, but like my point stands is because Link himself is a silent protagonist. He doesn't say much. All he says is the kind of stuff, mm-hmm. And that's really because it's like it's your interpretation of the character. It's what you feel is this character's relationship with everybody else.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I mean, yeah, Legend of Zelda is hard. I do remember that there was like a test animation mm-hmm. by the people who did the animation for the TMNT movie, mm-hmm. like the animated one. Yeah. That they actually did like a test animation for a Legend of Zelda cartoon, I think, and it did look good. Granted, the designs were a little funky, mm-hmm. Because it was a very similar art style to the TMNT movie. And if you've seen like the people in that movie, like
they're really weird looking.
Yeah, they are a little weird looking. So yeah, but besides that, like, I'm not saying it's impossible. Like, you could, in theory, make a Legend of Zelda movie like work,
but like why though?
That is sort of the big like why would you do that kind of thing. But I mean, at the same time, we are getting a Mario movie this year.
Oh shit! It does come out this year.
At the end of the year, yeah.
With Mario voiced by Chris Pratt.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, all the memes surrounding that. Even though Charles Monet, no,
the voice actor for
the original voice actor of Mario is in the movie doing voices for characters. We don't know who. I assume it's Waluigi, because if you don't have Waluigi in this movie, then quite frankly, you failed in a Mario movie adaptation.
Do they have Wario?
They didn't say. I mean, Wario should be there, and it should be voiced by Danny DeVito. Why? It's me, Wario.
I'm not gonna lie, that would actually make total sense.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, most people wanted Mario to be voiced, if they needed a celebrity voice actor, to be voiced by Danny DeVito.
I mean, they did the same thing with fucking Pikachu.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they just wanted Danny DeVito to voice lots of characters because it's funny to hear Danny DeVito's voice and things. But yeah, I mean, we're getting a Mario movie. It's animated, and Nintendo is directly involved with Illumination Studios. So,
man, everything just went up really high until you mentioned Illumination Studios.
Yeah, and that's sort of the biggest monkey's paw of all, right? It's like, you mean to tell me Nintendo is working directly with a movie studio to actually make an animated Mario movie? That sounds amazing. Who's the studio? Illuminations. I do not like this decision. It could have been anyone else. Probably not Disney, because Disney and Nintendo would be fighting for Disney would try to be slipping in oh, we technically own you now. It's like, no, you can't do that. The spirit of Satoru Iwata, protects us from your evil ways, Disney. You cannot touch us. It's a struggle there.
And I think so we play video games a lot.
Yes.
I'm not denying that.
Yes.
There is an amazing stories that are in video games. Look at something like The Last of Us, which is getting a live action HBO. I think HBO Max adaptation.
Yeah, it's gonna be a TV series. I think. Yeah. Which I mean, I think that can work for a story like that because I think the thing is that sometimes there's always this common thing of people being why don't we just take the cutscenes, just adapt the cutscenes and turn that into a movie? And then it's yeah, but you see all those YouTube videos of people putting all the cutscenes together and calling it a movie, and it's 4 or 5, 6 hours long of cutscenes.
Or you do Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, where you just take.
And we saw that movie.
Yeah, we did see that movie, and it was.
Yeah,
it was all right. But they took the movie and used the movie for cutscenes for the game that came out afterwards, which I mean, it made sense because the Ratchet and Clank movie was adaptation of the first Ratchet and Clank game, and I believe this game was a remake. Mm-hmm. So we were just yeah, it's worked. We save money this way. We saved a
lot of unnecessary money.
Yeah, and man, it's just very odd when you do that, and I think that works for something like The Last of Us, which is a super long story in game. So you can properly flesh out all what you need to do for a story like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. It's I think that's also something too, because oftentimes game can take usually
it's part of the immersive experience.
Yeah, you can take 10 hours to complete a single game, an average game or whatever. Some even longer if they're RPGs, take any Final Fantasy, Persona, Skyrim, any of those RPG games, and try to boil down the story into a 2.5 hour stretch. It can't work. I mean, there's a reason why the Persona games get animes to condense their stories, and even then it's kind of hit and miss, because I know Persona 4 the animation was good, but Persona 5 anime was eh.
Yeah, they're both. I mean, I've never played Persona. The thing about Persona, I'll say this: it's you doing the whole student activity and stuff.
Yeah.
And you becoming more immersive within the world and the relationship between the adults and the kids and whatever.
Yeah.
You don't really get that in the show. You get a more streamlined story.
Yeah, but I still feel at least from what I've heard, people like the Persona 4 anime. Mm-hmm. But they don't like the Persona 5 anime that much, or it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because the Persona 5 games, they don't have much to do about anything.
Yeah, I mean, I get
in terms of character, because you were telling me how it was weird how they did that one scene from the game, but it just didn't make sense, or it just didn't land.
I mean, Right, the scene, I think in Persona 5, because there is a, like, with the maid thing, and, like, she's asking you your age and stuff. And you have, like, dialogue choices that you can pick, and, it's, like, there's obviously, like, the reasonable choice, and then there's, like, an obvious dumb choice that that doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And they do that in the show. And, I mean, it's funny for a little bit, but I can understand why, like, it probably doesn't land as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's sort of like, if you're gonna make the story and have like serious moments,
mm-hmm.
you're just gonna sometimes like using the dumb line doesn't work in that scenario, right?
I mean, also the animation wasn't as good as the game was.
Yeah, I did. I think I did hear that too.
Yeah, but like there's things about in games that like it's totally about your experience with it. Skyrim is probably like you could make a Skyrim show or an Elder Scrolls show, but like majority of that is your choice. And like you said a while back, like Final Fantasy, if you made that into a show or a movie, I mean they did, but there's like a difference.
I mean, Final Fantasy Spirits Within is very loosely a Final Fantasy game, a Final Fantasy movie. I mean, sure, it has a Cid.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
I mean, there's also Advent Children.
I mean, yeah, but I feel like those types of like Final Fantasy movies are clearly more of like lore expanding.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not adapting
the game.
They're just expanding on the lore. Mm-hmm. Like you don't need to watch Advent Children to understand. Like watching Advent Children isn't going to make you understand the plot of Final Fantasy VII.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I have no idea what Advent Children the experience that Advent Children gives you if you watch it, other than like cool the best iteration of Sephiroth's theme. That's about it.
That's about it. I mean, other cool stuff though too.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff in that movie, but regardless, Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that makes a video game adaptation kind of hard is that you can't just take the story and just put it onto a screen or a TV, because like it's all about one's experience with the medium. It's a medium designed for video game, and like changing the medium involves changing whatever it has. It's the same conversation we had about like whenever they adapt like cartoons into movies, comics into movies, and animes into movies, or anything of the like. It's like whenever you do this, you're changing the medium. You have to understand that once you change the medium, you have to change a lot of stuff.
Yeah, because especially in something especially in something this interactive and in this sort of like immersive medium as a video games, because it's, I don't know, I find it weird because like there's often talks of like making video games more like movies, right? And it's sort of just like,
then why do we need to make them into movies?
Yeah, then why do we need to make video game movies if we want to? If video games are slowly and more like taking various cinematic styles and stuff and turning it and adding them into the video games. I mean, like, there's never gonna be a Red Dead movie because Red Dead is already like a Western movie in of itself because of the way the story is told. Like, it takes a lot of tropes from Westerns and puts it in a video game.
Heck, are you talking about like Red Dead Redemption 2? There's a moment where you go to this like plantation house and it's you and your squad, and there's a moment where like they're all like in like a lineup walking down, and like the way like it's shot, I'm like, holy shit, this looks like something out of like Magnificent Seven, like some Western film. Like if you just shot that, like it's perfectly balanced. Like I can't find the words to say, but like look it up. It's like the scene where they go into the Braithwaite Manor, and just them walking down, like, just the tilt of the camera angle because it's a third person game. That looks like something you would see in a film. That's like perfectly compositioned and everything. It struck me. I was like, oh my god, this one scene is amazing for me in my eyes. But also like, heck, God of War, the recent God of War that came out a while back, that is basically a one-shot movie.
Yeah, and it's, and I know that people have like, at least long-time God of War fans have had like at least mixed reactions to that game because they're just like, oh, I don't like it. It's too cinematic. I like how the old God of War games are, And that's kind of the weird, like that's such a interesting like complaint that people can have about video games now. It's like it's too cinematic. I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
And because that is weird, because video games are interactive experiences that you have control over. But once you start like adding a ton of that like I guess cinematic flair to it, and like I think that's why something like The Order 66 or whatever, 1866 or whatever it was called, like that PS4 exclusive game that was like super cinematic, was like so like very like
not well received.
Yeah, like it was very sort of like mixed reception because it was a super straight linear story, and it was like, I don't like this. I wish I could explore the world more. Why am I like in like railroad into this experience?
Heck, I mean, I've heard similar things. Like one of my favorite games is Asura's Wrath. Mm-hmm. You know this.
Yes.
It's basically like an interactive anime,
mm-hmm.
and it is the most fucking awesome thing I've ever seen in my life. Listen, when you're just a regular sized dude punching the finger of a god who's like the size, who's at least twice the size of the planet Earth, and he's just poking you, and you're that little dot or tiny little molecule, and you destroyed that big giant god. You're like, holy shit, that's awesome.
And I think in that aspect, I think the reason why like Asura's Wrath is sort of like an on rails kind of game.
Mm.
With a lot of QuickTime events, but you still feel like you do all that stuff. Yeah, there's like a lot of like QuickTime events, mashing buttons, but at the end of the day, you're like, I did that. I pressed B so many goddamn times, and I did that.
Like I could feel the rage and
the rage and the power. You know, yeah. Like I think what makes the Source Wrath kind of work, mm-hmm. even if like. It
is pretty linear.
It is pretty linear because it's like you feel like you are Asura. You're doing all this stuff.
Heck, Final Fantasy 13 was always criticized for being basically like a hallway simulator, mm-hmm. because it was just a straightforward thing. And well, I mean, I've come around to 13. I'm not saying like it's still like one of my least favorite ones, yes, but I've come around with it. But if you look at something like Final Fantasy 10, which doesn't have much of an exploration thing to do either way, it's almost the same thing, but I feel like the difference between that is that you're at least allowed to like look around and talk to people and like learn about the world.
Yeah, and obviously 15, super open world, but at the same time, a lot of people's problems with that game, at least in terms of the story, is towards the later half it gets super linear. Mm-hmm. You're not allowed to explore the open world anymore, and you're sort of just stuck on a one-track path to the end of the game. And I think at the end of the day, that sort of highlights, essentially, that big sort of thing when it comes to video game movies, is that once you lose that immersion experience of telling that story through an immersive way, you have to find some other way of like getting the audience built in to that. And I think the best way of doing that is probably with characters that you like have like some great characters. Because Castlevania, the show, mm-hmm. I think does that really well. Because the game that it's based off of didn't have that much of a story, and Castlevania games have always been sort of free form. You get it started its own genre, the Metrovanias. Where you're just like exploring an entire area. And when you're blocked by certain places, you need to go backtracking, get certain items to continue moving forward. And, their way of jumping around that and, the lack of a story was, let's write a story. Let's write characters that people can like and take various moments from the game or whatever and actually make them cool and interesting and make people care about it.
And I know a lot of people who's like, only exposure to Castlevania was the TV show, and I'm pretty sure if you explored any of the games, it's like, this isn't nothing like the show, because even the show excludes certain characters,
and the games are not nearly as violent or bloody as the show makes it out to be.
Which I'm like, which when you think about it, Castlevania would be a very bloody bloody and violent show.
Yeah, because it's fighting vampires and demons and stuff.
Yeah.
There would be a lot of blood and gore, but because those games were made on the NES, they didn't have the force power for that. They did not have the graphical technology, and also Nintendo probably wouldn't let them do it.
No.
Definitely wouldn't let them do it.
No. If you were a different publisher, maybe yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
But hey, even now, I'm surprised we haven't mentioned this, but you and I are big Halo fans.
And there is the long-awaited Halo TV series coming out on Paramount Plus,
which isn't our first into Halo into live action at all.
Yeah, because if you recall, there was the Halo Landfall short film, I think made by Neil Blomkamp, right?
Yeah, which was originally going to be the
pitch to a Halo movie directed by him, right?
Him or Peter Jackson. Well, I think it was Peter Jackson. Then it was him because he didn't have.
Yeah. And that sort of ultimately fell apart. And then we had the Halo Nightfall mini series that was on Halo Waypoint, and it sort of explored the origins of Agent Locke, who's a big character in Halo 5. And that was, I don't know, as a Halo fan, I am always very forgiving when it comes to Halo media and stuff. Halo Legends, I love it. I love all the shorts, even the dumb ones, like Odd One Out. That's one of my favorites, even if it's dumb, right? Because it's just straight up Dragon Ball plus Halo. I don't know how it works
without the beams,
without Kamehamehas, but I don't know how they did it, but it's fun to watch. The
duel was awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, Nightfall, I remember it being very it's not terrible.
Wasn't it directed by Ridley Scott?
It was I think either directed or produced by Ridley Scott, which was which is I think what made it so underwhelming.
Yeah.
You were all right, directed or produced by Ridley Scott, Halo TV show on Halo Waypoint. This is gonna be cool, and then it's just a bunch of Marines and stuff stuck on a planet while hunter worms are chasing them, and it's okay, I guess this is fine. I guess
this seems something like Ridley Scott would be into.
I guess. Oh, and I forgot.
Yeah, I know. I was
Halo Forward Unto Dawn,
which was pretty good.
Yeah, I remember liking it because originally it was on Machinima. It was a 4 or 5 part miniseries, but it was basically meant to be a movie. Mm-hmm. And granted, it had
what's her name from Chronicles of Narnia?
Yeah, the Lucy, the big sister.
Yeah.
And it was the origin story of Captain Lasky, as a cadet at this training facility. And the whole big climax is we get to see the Master Chief in live action.
And man, was he good?
Yeah, it was good. Straight up, just because their planet gets attacked by the Covenant. Shit just going down.
Well, also this is one of the first few Covenant in the story. It's one of the first few Covenant interactions.
Yeah, because the whole there's this whole thing with the story because they're training to fight the insurrectionists, which in the Halo lore, there's a insurrectionist group that wants to split from the the UNSC, all that stuff, and you get this leaked footage of what appears to be aliens that are fighting, and potential and the Spartan helmet in the frame, and it's what the students are what's this? What the hell is going on? There's that build up of oh, we don't know. They don't know what the Covenant is. They don't know what Spartans even are. This is all about to blow to a head, which it does when the Covenant invades that planet. I forget the name of the planet. I think it's Haven or Harmony. I don't know. But basically everybody's getting wrecked because it's the Covenant, and that's usually what happens when first contact has happened with the Covenant. They just wreck shop, and Master Chief and the rest of the blue team, Frederick and Kelly, show up. And they do a good job with Halo Forward Unto Dawn. And I don't know. It's at the same time, I know that some people were kind of with it, and I think it was more because especially I think the way it was released, being 4 or 5 mini parts.
Yeah.
That the only the good parts are at the end.
Yeah.
And you have to deal with... Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, Lasky's a fine character, and he, you know, like, if you're into the Halo lore, you'll like, have a good time with it. But I think that was, like, I think a weird thing that 343 was trying to do with the Halo stuff was, like, using, like, the expanded media to, like...
they still kind of do that.
I mean, yeah, they still kind of do that, where they use the expanded media to explain backstories for characters and such. Or just, like, you know... set up things for other stuff or whatever, but I mean, I don't know. War Runs Down, it was nice, and now we are getting the Halo TV show, which has been in like development hell.
Good lord, that was a hell.
Like they announced this back when the Xbox One was getting announced, and it was like produced by Steven Spielberg. We're gonna work this out. Or I think they originally wanted to be like watched on like the Xbox. Like it would be like I don't know, like you would like watch it on Xbox Live or whatever. And then I think they talked about moving it to like I think back in like 2015, 2016 they were like we're gonna have it on Showtime. And it's like okay, that sounds interesting. And then it was like.
Oh yeah, that fell through.
Yeah, that fell through, and you just hear nothing about this show. But then you start hearing like that they're still working on it, and I guess there was like rumors that it was going to be more focused on Miranda Keyes and her relationship with her father, and like Captain Keyes, who's like who's a major character in the first game. But then like they made him black, which is like, wait, but he's white in the game, like. I mean, I don't have a problem with it, but my lore brain, how does that work?
Blind casting, Johnny. That's how it works.
I know, but still, it was like, wait, hold on a second. Wait, is the Master Chief is he even gonna be in this show? Is this just gonna be like set in the Halo universe? Like, no one knew what the hell was going on with this show. And now we know that it's coming out on Paramount Plus, and yeah, the Chief is involved. I do not know if they still have Captain Keyes being black, and I mean, again, that I don't have an issue with that. It's just in my brain, in my lore. I'm in my Halo lore brain. I'm just like, how does that work? Wait, hold on. Is this technically? Is this just a reboot?
Is this out of continuity?
Is this canon? Is this not canon? I need to know. my Halo nerd in me needs to know if I have to treat this as canon or not. Because at least with the odd one out. From Halo Legends, it is clear as day that's not canon. So it's like, okay, I can enjoy this, turn my brain off. I don't have to learn, you know, the implications of Spartan 1337 or any of the stuff that happens in that short. It doesn't matter. But then it's like another short in the Halo Legends with Origins, like part 2, where Cortana's like, and the humans and Covenant join forces to stop the Flood. And I'm just like, hey, wait a minute. That's not how that went in the game. It was... The elites split off from the Covenant after the Covenant backstabbed them. With the and now the elites and humans fought the Flood because the Covenant still wanted to fire the Halo rings. Cortana, is this part of rampancy? Are you forgetting how stuff works?
And this is where we just leave the Halo behind.
I just need to.
Okay.
All right.
You good? You got that out of your system?
It's still a question that needs to be answered, and I think. I just need to know. 343 needs an explanation. There's probably it's probably there somewhere. I just don't understand why they did that.
Okay. I think they went a little too longer than I thought it would.
I'm sorry. It's again. I am a Halo nerd. I bought books. I read books.
Not all the books.
Not all the books, because eventually I was like, I don't like reading books, even if they're about stuff I like. But at the same time, I'm just like. No, wait, no. Like, because, I mean, I'm the guy that buys Halo Wars and Halo Wars 2. I think most Halo fans don't buy those games, but I buy them because it's like, ooh, Halo.
It has the name Halo on it.
Although I didn't buy the Spartan Assault games or whatever they're called.
Okay, we're good.
But point is, new Halo show coming out. It definitely has a budget. Will it be good? And can I at least pirate this? Because I do not feel like paying for Paramount Plus.
Unless you sponsor us.
Listen, Like I have Disney Plus, we have HBO Max. I don't need another streaming service in my life. Netflix, Hulu, just why? Couldn't you just put it on Halo Waypoint like with Nightfall?
Fair enough.
But yeah, it's
but then even then, okay, so to tie it back into like adapting like video game movies, like video games in general, you just spewed a whole lot of lore. How is that going to work within something to be adapted?
That's the thing. It's like you either ignore it or you somehow embrace it, but you have to really toe the line because the Sonic movie kind of more or less ignores the previous Sonic lore. I mean, he's raised by a weird talking owl, which I'm pretty sure that's never happened in any Sonic game.
that was news to me the moment that showed the fuck up.
And you can clearly tell the owl was from they didn't change the design of the owl to like fit with Sonic's new design. Like that clearly, if that was like the old Sonic design, like it would look more visually cohesive. But because they didn't change that owl lore design, they just didn't do that. Or like I guess like Assassin's Creed, I think definitely leans into its lore, but like. God, that's a weird movie. I remember watching. We went to watch that movie, and I think we both came out being like, "That was weird."
That was a weird movie.
Because Assassin's Creed, if you don't know, basically the premise is you have a machine called the Animus, that allows you to go into your
genetic past,
genetic memories of your ancestors and live their lives, which is cool in concept and probably, that's probably not an actual thing, but goddamn, that's cool.
It's a cool concept.
And, there's this whole plot of the Assassins and the Templars, the Assassins fighting for freedom, the Templars fighting for order. Like it's two organizations that have been fighting since the beginning of human civilization, I think.
Yeah.
And, the whole thing is Michael Fassbender. He's an assassin, and they use him they put him in the Animus, which in the movie is a weird crane arm thing because like I get the reason why it's not like a chair or a machine because it's not appealing to look at of just a guy sitting in a chair while he's like in his
Okay, bullshit, because the Animus 2.0 was like right fucking there.
Yeah, and also...
And they just said that this Animus version, the little crane thing, was an obsolete version. Then why the fuck do you have Animus 2.0, which is a far superior version?
And let's not forget, like, the Animus is basically the Matrix anyway. Like, in the game. In the game, it's basically the Matrix, because you're not... Because, Assassin's Creed games are usually open world, and you're not railroad into, like... You can do whatever you want. And granted, the game will be like, hey, you can't be killing too many civilians because that's not what your ancestor did, and it'll reset you to a checkpoint. But regardless, it's still like a Matrix. So
you even get the Matrix things going down, except it's white instead of green.
Yeah, so I don't understand. Yeah, that is a thing. Like, I don't understand why they couldn't have just been like, we can just make it the Matrix, just hook them up into the back like that, and then boom, Like, I don't know, maybe it was because they didn't feel like wasting...
Because it'd be so much cinematically pleasing, even though this fucking machine can't do a fucking leap of faith, which is like the most iconic thing from the fucking game. I was so upset when they did that.
Yeah, alright, we opened an old wound.
And we gotta open your wounds, my turn to open my wounds.
Yeah, but yeah, in that movie, I think, definitely leans into lore. At least tries to, and it...
Well, it implies that Fassbender's character is a descendant of Arno, which is a character from one of the later games.
Unity, Assassin's Creed, the main character of Assassin's Creed Unity.
Yes.
Which, it's just like, that's interesting.
That's weird. And then there's like one of the scientist ladies like, oh, but you're an assassin as well. I'm like, what?
Yeah, and it's like, all right, first of all, you're not an assassin because of bloodlines, because if you know the lore of the game, you can just become an assassin. It's an order. Mm-hmm. Like, much like the Templar order, you can join and align yourself with the Assassins or the Templars. Mm-hmm. And I know that like later games have like blurred the line because I guess it's more dramatic.
Yeah, some leave for the other side or some join the others.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go that deep into it. But it's. I mean, you're either in it with blood or you can just get out. No, we're not. You're not obligated.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to like trying to, because I think that movie definitely relied a bit too much on the lore, and was hoping that the audience knew what Assassin's Creed was, even though this movie had nothing to do with any of the previous games besides, I guess, the one Arno link. But yeah, it's like
still a weird movie.
Yeah, like, because I think I remember hearing of the movie, it's like, oh, are we going to adapt Desmond's story? And it's like, no, it's going to be a completely different character within the same universe. And it's like, okay, I think this could work, because then we can get a new story out of this.
Yeah.
But the story they gave us, not that great.
Not that great.
Not that great.
I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I didn't like that much. But even then, like that's just, I guess that's like the bad example of how one can go about it. Yeah, I mean, we just mentioned, Four Ounce Dawn, which I feel like is the better version of what they tried to do for that one. But even then, it's just like there's so much like, and now I guess if you're listening, like this is why we mean like a video game adaptation. Even though they're getting better, it's still a hard thing to do.
And there isn't like, because I think with the superhero movies, like there's a clear like point where you can tell, oh, we've made it. Like we made it. We like with super like comic book movies and stuff. Like there's a clear like I think there's a clear distinction of when comic book movies have gotten the formula down, have gotten good. Whether it's The Dark Knight or Iron Man, or if you want to go further back, Spider-Man.
You want to go a bit forward, the Avengers.
Yeah, like there's various clear examples. Like we got it. This is how it works.
We nailed it.
We've nailed it. But with video game movies,
we hit the bullseye.
Yeah, with video game movies, it's still like
it's a progress.
Yeah, it's a work in progress. Because I know some people were like, yeah, that Mortal Kombat movie was great, and I'm like, was it though?
I know for some people it was. I know for me it was no.
And listen, I didn't come here to watch a fan OC be the main character and, steal the spotlight from other characters. All right, I'm just going to point that out.
Mm-hmm.
Did not like that writing decision. It felt way too fanficky for me. I'm a descendant of Scorpion.
That bothered the fuck out of you.
Yeah, I'm just like, why? Why? This is so...
Oh, just because Ed Boon wants a Scorpion Sub-Zero fight where Scorpion always wins.
Like, I get it. Scorpion's the popular one, more popular, but it's just like, come on, man. This is just ridiculous.
It is very ridiculous. But anyways, like, just to go back, even then, like, I think we're slowly getting our, like... to compare it to comic books, like our Blades, our X-Men, our Spider-Mans, Superman, obviously Christopher Nolan, what's his name? Christopher Reeve, Superman, Tim Burton's Batman. I think we're slowly getting those kind of movies right now, with like Sonic, Castlevania, and like Witcher to an extent, if you want to say that. But there's still like a progress to be made, and also understand that maybe some games are just kind of meant to be just that, games. Like, man, we've tried at least how many attempts with the Street Fighter?
I mean, 2 movies, right? The Street Fighter in the 90s, which is it bad? Yes, but are there like fun elements
is
to
it? Fun to watch? Yes, it's very fun to watch.
Yeah. Am I still upset that for whatever that they made Guile the main character, even though it's clearly meant not reuse the main character? Yes. Do I understand why they did it? Yeah, I know why they did it.
Because like in American.
Yeah. He's a blonde American, and even though he's played by Jean-Claude Van Damme, but they couldn't have a Japanese man be the main character. No siree.
No siree.
No siree.
Unless it was made in Japan.
And then they made the Legend of Chun-Li movie, which was bad and not fun to watch.
I don't remember anything from that movie.
Michael Claude Duncan was Balrog, and that's probably the only good thing about that movie.
That was a good decision.
Yes, M. Bison was just a guy in a tuxedo.
And they mentioned Ryu at the end.
Yeah, where she's like, we hear about this talented fighter in Japan right now. You know, his name is Ryu or something.
Yeah. Like,
it's like they wanted this to be like the start of like a Street Fighter franchise, and it's like, nope.
And then there's the cartoon.
Oh, the cartoon. Listen, there's some fun Mimi moments in that, but that's also a bad adaptation. Not great.
Guy just screaming, no, like a child.
And Bison being just classic meme, like,
yes.
And I mean, there was like, I know there's like
other shows and other attempts too.
Yeah, like a web show. Yeah. I do know there is like a web show, and I mean,
I heard that was good.
Yeah, and it's like, but at the same time, it's like,
do I want to watch that?
Yeah.
Do I want to watch that? That's the question. I heard they made a reference to Dan.
And that's about it.
That's about it. All I know. It's like the same with the web show for Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, like, which if you I remember that, like,
I remember how that started.
It was because of like that trailer.
Yeah,
that was like a gritty, like realistic take of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah,
which I remember like, oh, that's so cool. And then it's like it's a web show, and I think you start to like look at it, and it's like, well, that's not nearly as cool as the trailer.
Yeah. Again, Sonya Blade and Jax were police officers instead of a part of special forces.
Yeah,
it was weird. It was fun.
Baraka was this scientist who like, or surgeon or whatever, who like attached like metal surgeon tools to his arms.
Which, what?
Yeah, that was.
He also sharpened. No. That was
Reptile. He sharpened his teeth.
Yeah. He was a cannibal.
Yeah.
Like what is going? Like looking back, I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, looking back, it was super edgy. Like straight up like hardcore edge of like, yeah, this is realistic. This isn't that like the stupid MK bullshit of fantasy stuff. This is real world stuff.
And I'm just like, yeah, but that part was fun though.
Yeah, like ninjas and like monsters from other dimensions.
Oh no, wait, but it's still fantasy because Hanzo is like a ghost or something.
Yeah.
Because like when he turns around, he's got all the big white eyes.
Yeah.
He's a revenant. What?
Yeah.
And then like you told me the only one you seen was the rated one where he might be a crazy old man.
Yeah. Like he's just a crazy old man or whatever, and then with the powers of Raiden, he turns into Raiden or whatever. It's just really weird.
It was weird.
Weird take.
But anyways, it's just like I think we're getting there at some point. It's not impossible. I think I think right now we're in that sort of trial and testing period with it, where like we know that we can do it and it's possible. We just need to find like either the right kind of properties and like the right kind of method to do some of these things. Because half the times, sometimes just watching the cinematics is fun too. Because I know there's some more casuals who like that. Like remember when IGN released the whole like cutscene for MK11?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then, like, I don't play MK11 as much. And that's about it. And, that's kind of sad.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's kind of weird because a lot of people, I think, have said about, like, at least picking the right property of, like, hey, why don't we just go with stuff that is cinematic in nature of video games? Like, I mean, they are making an Uncharted movie, but at the same time, looking at that movie, I'm just kind of like, with it. Like, don't get me wrong, Tom Holland, I like him. Mark Wahlberg is a fine actor, but like, I think I remember when I first saw the trailer. Like, what I did? I think I remember telling you what I did when I first saw the trailer for the Uncharted movie.
What'd you say?
I went back and watched that old fan film of Uncharted with Nathan Fillion as Nathan Drake.
Mm-hmm.
And what was and the other guy being Sully. He was the bad guy in Avatar. You remember him?
Oh, the old guy. Yeah,
the old guy. Yeah, that guy was Sully. And I won't lie, watching that short film, I'm just like, I get way more like Uncharted feels from this short film than the movie. And I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know if it's just because like the movie is like doing a young Indiana Jones take with it, where like it's a young Nathan Drake learning how to become Nathan Drake, you know?
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, I mean, yeah, I guess I'm fine with that, but like, I don't know. Like, I get the reason, like, in an ideal world, the Uncharted movie would have come out a long time ago and would have had Nathan Fillion being Nathan Drake. But for whatever reason, it took them far too long, because I think, the first Uncharted game came out in 2007, and we're getting an Uncharted movie, like, 10 plus years after the game, you know? Like, at least friggin', like, Uncharted 4 came out, like, in 2016?
Yeah.
Like, and there hasn't been a new Uncharted game in a while, unless you want to count, like, the Lost Legacy DLC or whatever. But yeah, I think that's also just something, like, I feel like I notice sometimes when it comes to, like, video game adaptations, is that they take properties that are popular, but they're not as popular anymore. Right? Like, don't get me wrong, Halo TV show, I'm into it. But imagine the craziness of a Halo TV show in 2000, or a Halo movie in 2007 or 2008, at the peak of Halo popularity, like after Halo 3's launch.
Yeah.
That would have made a lot of money. Even if it was bad, and it probably would have been bad, you know, like, it would have made a lot of money. But now you have a TV show on a streaming service, and granted, Halo Infinite is out, and it is popular, and I'm glad for that. I'm not sure if that will translate into people watching the show.
That is true. I mean, I think it's like Halo 1 popular right now.
Yeah. I mean, I have seen, like, I think 343 released that there have been 22 million players that have played Halo Infinite. Now, I don't know if that means active or just people who have played and then, like, stopped. I'm not sure. I mean, it is. I think Halo Infinite is still popular, obviously. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's something I also mentioned. Granted, it probably is not a big deal for something like the Mario movie, because Mario is just ubiquitous at this point, and you could release a Mario movie at any time. But obviously, you know, Illumination's
track record.
I mean, I know, like, Despicable Me is a solid movie, but for the most part, I think the main issues with Illumination has always been they seem to be very safe and very lazy. Yeah. Like, they don't seem to have, like, any sort of innovative style.
Nope.
To them. Like, the Lorax, I know that was popular and people liked it. I personally was like,
I hate everything about this.
Yeah, I just don't like it, you know? Like, it's like, when the main message of the Lorax is, like, a very sort of anti-commercial, like, pro-environment story. And then you have, God, I remember, like, all these ads for the Lorax, and I'm just like, Dr. Seuss is rolling in his grave right now. Jesus Christ. I mean, the saving grace of that movie is, of course, Danny DeVito as the Lorax. That's the only saving grace, you know? And obviously that, I don't know, that movie just not, I did not care for it.
I know you didn't. I know. We had this conversation multiple times.
And I just don't like the look of all other movies either. Like, I'm sure, like, Secret Life of Pets and, God, I don't like the look of Sing. Like, I'm sure they're fine movies, but I swear to God, that freaking koala and his smile, it just looks unnerving to me, man. I don't know why. And now I picture Mario with that same smile, and I'm just like,
with Chris Pratt's voice.
I'm just like, where is this movie going?
What is this eldritch horror?
I mean, Charlie Day as Luigi, that's pretty perfect casting, I guess. But, like, Seth Rogen as fucking Donkey Kong, like, is Donkey Kong just gonna have a fucking
blunt in his hand?
A bun in his hand, and just, like, Smokin's like, hey Mario,
No, it's not a plant. It's a banana.
It's a banana.
He's got it in his mouth like it was a plant.
Yeah, it's like Mario. How's it going?
Yeah, but no. It's a weird thing to talk. It's weird to go with, and I think this conversation is starting to get really circular. So I think it's a better place to end it. But I guess the thing I gotta say, though, is that there's still one of these days we'll get a good one. If you're not into the whole adaptating video games outside of like the art they're intended to, that's fine. I'm more of like, hey man, if they can pull it off, they can pull it off. Go for it. Who knows? Maybe we'll get a good one and a fantastic one. I mean, like, Last of Us was a highly regarded story. And maybe the show will be good too. I don't know about Last of Us 2. I actually don't even know anything about Last of Us. I never played the game. No, never had an interest in it. But I heard it's a really good story, and that's great. Hope they get that in TV format as well. But it's all like a wait and see kind of process, really. But I like to stay in the hopeful side. Maybe one day we'll get like a really good video game adaptation. Maybe the Halo TV show will be good. We'll see. But anyways, guys, if you enjoy what you listen to, you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at the Geek Centurions. We are most active on our Instagram at the Geek Centurions. And there's a link tree to all of our sites that we are officially part of, like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and all that good stuff. A link to the YouTube for all you audio listeners out there who want to put a face to the voice. So if you want to know how we're doing, that's a good place to go too. We would love some support there. We know we're getting support audio-wise, but we would love to see support on the YouTube side. And you can also support us through Patreon. We just really have it there, so you can just support us in any form of way. Because there's stuff that we would like to do, and then that's probably the best way to support us. And yeah. Alright, guys. This has been our video game talk. It's been me, your boy, Eli.
You mean Joe.
So you guys have a good one. Peace.